with late game execution.
No, ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What's up, YouTube? Franchise Sports TV back again with another video. And I've probably been doing this for the longest time. I mentioned it in a community post not too long ago. And I mentioned it for a reason. I do everything with my videos for a reason. So we're going to start talking Golden State Warriors. Not the current Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors 50 years ago. I know I have some older individuals on this subscribe to this channel, so they know where I'm probably going with this, and they know about the 1974-75 Warriors. Now, the 1974-75 Warriors were coming off 4 seasons of almost there, but not there. Since 1969, they pretty much finished in second place. Sometimes with a 500 record, sometimes with a 600 record. But they was always losing in the semifinals to my Milwaukee Bucks in 5 games and such and such. It just didn't work out for them. It just didn't work out. So, after spending the last 4 seasons just bowing out in the Western Conference Finals, losing in 5 games and finishing in second place in the Pacific with a subpar records. One season they didn't even get to the playoffs, and they had above 500 run. It was 44-38, just didn't get there. So the 1974 season started out differently for them. It was the 29th season in franchise history, a 13th season in California. 4 playing in Oakland because they used to play in San Francisco 4 or 5 years before that as well. But in the offseason, Nate Thurman was traded. That Nate Thurman, the great Nate Thurman, was traded to Chicago for Clifford Ray, younger and known as a defensive player. In the draft, the 74 draft, they drafted Keith Wilkes, a.k.a. Jamal Wilkes. Cassie Russell was gone, went to the Lakers, and the Lakers were just getting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the offseason as well with that trade. So that only leave Rick Barry as the only person. But Coach Al Attles had something planned. More of a team-oriented system. Everybody was going to get involved, but Rick Barry would lead the way. That year, playing in the Oakland Coliseum Arena, the Golden State Warriors would finish 48-34. Same record the Bucks got. That's crazy. Finishing first in the Pacific, first in the Western Conference. That's, ooh, man. That's like a 5th place record now, or if you're lucky. But 48-34, first in the West, that's a crazy record to have right there. It really is. Because the Seattle Sonics was 43-39, Portland Trail Blazers was 38-34, Suns were 32-50, and the Lakers are just garbage. Out of the West, Chicago Bulls finished second, 47-35. Kansas City Oklahoma Kings 44-38. Sonics were 43-39. Pistons were 40-42. Portland Trail Blazers, and remember, they only had 5 teams that were playing. So it wasn't 8 teams like it is now. It's 5 teams that went to the playoffs. So that left the Portland Trail Blazers, Milwaukee Bucks, Phoenix Suns 6, 7, and 8 not making it. And they probably didn't deserve to make it because their records were piss poor. Especially the Suns. They was 30-52, 32-50. And the Los Angeles Lakers finished, like I said, 30-52 that season. So that was very weird to have a record like that. But to move on, Rick Barry finished that season 30 points a game and led the NBA in free throw percentage and steals. And he was 6th in the league in assists per game as well. In the playoffs now, Remember, there was no first round, so they automatically started in the semifinals, and the Warriors got the Seattle Supersonics, beat them in 6 games. In the Western Conference Finals, they played the Chicago Bulls. But this series included Nate Thurmond, of course. Remember, say he got traded to Chicago. But this series also was a tough series for the Warriors as well because it went to 7 games. Oh, shoot. Sorry. It went to 7 games. That series went to 7 games. Sorry. So, in those 7 games, let's see here. The Bulls won the first. Warriors won the first game, 38 points behind Rick Barry. George Johnson with 11 rebounds. Butch Beard with 9 points. And then Chicago get the next 2 games. 89-90, close one. 101-108. And this is weird, though, because they played the first game in Oakland, and then they played the next 2 in Chicago. Then went back to Oakland, I think, for the next couple of them, I think it was, probably. But anyways, the Bulls won the next 2, and then Game 4 went to the Warriors, 111-106. And then the Bulls won Game 5 in Oakland, 89-79. And then the Warriors closed the season out for the Chicago Bulls, winning the last 2. Rick Barry scoring 36 points in Game 6. And then Jamal Brooks closing out with 23 points himself. Clifford Wade with 12 rebounds and Rick Barry with 4 assists. Now, if you look at the stat line for all 70 of these games in the Western Conference Finals, everybody contribute. Either it was Clifford Ray, Rick Barry, Butch Beard, George Johnson, Bill Bridges, whoever. One game was 3 players tied with 3 assists, which is not much, but there was a contribution. But the Golden State Warriors will go on to play the Washington Bullets. And that series was the complete opposite of what the Warriors faced with the Chicago Bulls. Now, this Bullet team, hold on right quick. Now, before I go in on this Washington team, you got to think who was on this Washington team and what this Washington team was about. Now, this Washington Bullets team, another team who moved around a lot, they were 60-22. Best franchise record so far up until this day. They had a home record of 36-5 at the Capitol Center. This team was a juggernaut in the East, coached by Casey Jones. This team had Alvin Hayes, Wes Unseld, Kevin Porter. They had people like that. It was a great team. Great team. But they was also tied with the Boston Celtics at 60-22 as well. You got to take that into account too. And in their division, they had the Houston Rockets, the Cavs, Hawks, and Jazz. Remember, everything's all cattywampus back then. Now, they would go on to play on their route to the finals. Let's see here. Why is this thing all blurry like that? Now, on their route to the finals, they played 7 games against the Buffalo, a.k.a. Los Angeles Clippers. That's what I call them. And then they went 6 games against the Boston Celtics. And then now they got to play the Golden State Warriors. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, the Warriors not necessarily made light work of the Washington Bullets, but they did sweep them. One game, 101-95. The next game, 92-91. Game 3, 109-101. Game 4, 96-95. So it kind of reminded me of the 2007 finals, where the Cleveland Cavaliers, yeah, they got swept, but every game was pretty much close, I think, except for one. It might have been the last one. Rick Barry led in it, scoring every game. 24 points one game, 36 points in game 2, 38 points in game 3, 20 points in game 4. The Golden State Warriors will become champions for the third time that season, and wouldn't become champions again until 40 years later, when Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green beat the one we should not mention, that's hair is balding right now, in that 6-game series 10 years ago. Rick Barry was the final MVP, of course. That year, he was All-NBA first team. He was an All-Star. Jamal Wilkes was the Rookie of the Year, Rookie first team. And I can't even pronounce that name. Dick Vercho was the Executive of the Year. That was the only thing the Warriors got that season. That was the only thing. You look at the roster, the only person of notice on here was Rick Barry. Jamal Wilkes was a rookie. Clifford Ray never became an all-star. Jamal Wilkes now will go on to have a better career. He would go on to play with the Los Angeles Lakers a couple years later, winning 3 championships with them in 1980, 82, and 85. Became a 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-Defensive Second Team right after his rookie season. Like I said, he was Rookie of the Year. Now he's a Hall of Famer and college basketball Hall of Famer as well. He is not named to any anniversary teams, but yeah, he says he's a Hall of Famer at college and for the NBA. And his career didn't really take off. Yeah, his career really didn't take off until he got to the Lakers. Look at the rest of the roster. Nobody can tell none of these guys here were really big time players. Good role players for that team, but they weren't top notch players. Like I said, the only person I really had on there of note was Jamal Wilkes, and that was it, really. Now, I say all this for a reason. Like I said, there's always a method to the madness. The 1974-75 Warriors basically came out of nowhere and took it all that season. Rick Barry didn't have a single All-Star, anyone of note. I continue to keep hearing these Jokic fans saying Nikola Jokic has no one on his team. He has Russell Westbrook, former All-Star, MVP, triple-double himself. Jamal Murray, who can be an All-Star himself, already an NBA champion on that team. He has Aaron Gordon, an NBA champion. If you can't figure out how to get it done in today's NBA, then you can't be helped. If Rick Barry can lead a 48 and 34 team to beat the Washington Bullets, a team that only lost 5 games at home, if he can sweep that team, then Nikola Jokic can do the same. Problem with Nikola Jokic is his defense. It's a liability on defense. But sometimes you got to step up. Sometimes the greats gotta figure it out. I think the Denver Nuggets this year finished with a better record than the Golden State Warriors this season. I believe. I think they did. They gotta figure this out. And there should be no more excuses anymore. Now, I will say this: Jeff Mullins, I forgot he was an all-star. He was an all-star way. Well, I wouldn't say way, but he was an all-star many years before that. But it's almost similar teams. If he can't figure out, if Jokic can't figure out how to win a championship with this team, then he's not as great as a player as people think he is. Sorry, that's the truth. Now, before I get off, what is their record this season? Their record this season was 50-32. So they won 50 games this season. So like I said, if he can't figure it out this season, that's on Jokic right there. He's not as great as everybody thinks he is. But anyways, that's all I got to say about it. Shout out to the Golden State Warriors from 50 years ago for winning that championship. I don't want to hear no more excuses about any team don't have this and don't have that. Not anymore.